Any day now, a Hong Kong court is set to deliver a verdict for Jimmy Lai. He's a 77-year-old democracy activist and media magnate who's been detained now for 5 years. He's accused of sedition and collusion with foreign forces, but his supporters call the trial a sham and say the only thing Lai is guilty of committing is journalism. Nick Schifrin recently sat down with Lai's son.
Jimmy Lai has been detained by Hong Kong authorities in solitary confinement for 1,700 straight days. He's become a symbol of the death of personal freedoms in Hong Kong. Jimmy Lai arrived in Hong Kong at the age of 12, stowed away on a fishing boat. He worked his way up to become a media tycoon and a leading pro-democracy advocate. In the summer of 2020, he became the most prominent person arrested under a national security law that punished people not only for what they did, but also what they said. Anyone who, quote, provoked the hatred of Beijing, who called for Hong Kong's separation from mainland China, who received support from a foreign country as judged by Beijing-backed courts, could be sentenced to life in prison. And now, after a 2-year trial and 5 years of detention, Jimmy Lai's health is deteriorating, posing a grave risk to his physical and mental health and to his life. To discuss this, I'm joined by Sebastian Lai, Jimmy Lai's son. Sebastian Lai, thanks very much. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
To the NewsHour. As best as you can tell, how's your father doing?
Not very well, unfortunately, as you outlined these conditions that he's in. It is absolutely horrible. And this is a man who's 77, turning 78 at the end of this year. He recently was too sick to go to court because he had heart palpitations, and they had to hook him up to a heart monitor. You know, we're very worried that something happens to him and it just doesn't get dealt with fast enough, and then he passes away.
You and I sat here in these exact same seats a year ago.
Yeah.
And you told me that you were worried your father might die in detention a year ago.
Yeah.
What's changed, if anything, or are you just more worried than you were back then?
So his trial is still ongoing. There were times when he could express, you know, his principles in court, and it was those little beautiful moments of this man who is, you know, through his courage, through his belief in freedom, stayed and defended these principles, and you can still see that mentally and spiritually he's still very strong, but physically it's really distressing.
Devout Catholic, fierce promoter of democracy, those are the principles that your father has lived in all his life. And this month you've submitted a new request to the UN to try and raise your father's case with Hong Kong authorities, with Beijing. What are you hoping the UN does, and what do you think they might accomplish?
So the UN could put pressure on both Hong Kong and the Chinese government to treat my father better. But look, actually the wider picture there is he shouldn't be in jail in the first place.
Your father's being tried for sedition and conspiracy to collude with foreign agents. Do you believe there is any chance that this court will find him not guilty?
There's no chance of him ever getting a fair trial. The evidence is incredibly thin. You know, my father has come out incredibly clean throughout all of this, and you know, to the sense where he has really been shown to be this moral figure, this person who always stood for what is right, who campaigned for democracy peacefully, who advocated for Hong Kong to be democratic under the Joint Declaration, and did not call for Hong Kong's independence, who did all of this because he believed it was the right thing, you know, financially and personally for it, and in the end decided to stay in Hong Kong even after the passing of the national security law to defend his journalists and to defend his principles. And many people around the world do not think that a man who's done all of that, who's so courageous, deserves to die in prison.
One difference between today and the last time you and I talked a year ago is, of course, President Trump is in office. And last month, President Trump talked to Fox News, and he said this.
I've already brought it up, and I'm going to do everything I can to save him. I'm going to do everything. You know, he's a respected guy. He's a good guy. I mean, you could also understand President Xi would not be exactly thrilled by doing it.
What do you hope that President Trump can do to try and save your father?
I mean, we're so incredibly grateful that the president said that. You know, I thank him from the bottom of my heart. This is a man who has freed so many people from all over the world. The hope is that he he frees my father, but at this point in time, it's saving his life, and so I really hope he saves my father's life.
As you know, I interviewed your father in August 2020, and this is my last question to him.
You are, as we talked about earlier, accused of colluding with a foreign power. Are you resigned on a personal level to being found guilty and spending a long time, even perhaps the rest of your life, in prison?
I don't think about this because I don't want to put the psychological burden on myself until the time comes. You know, I'm not worried just because my life is about myself. It would be meaningless. Only when I detach from myself and thinking of my life is about something bigger and not about myself, that my life becomes meaningful. And that makes me going every day.
When life is not about myself, but about something bigger, that's when my life becomes meaningful. What's your response to watching that?
It's obviously very emotional because anybody that knows him is a man who had, he could have left at any point. But I think at his age, he realized that he has so much more to defend, so much more to lose, but so much more to defend, so much more to protect. And he knew that despite obviously the danger to his life, that he had something that mattered more. And so he stayed and defended his principles and defend his colleagues. And I'm so proud to call this man my father, and so proud to be able to fight for him, to fight for his freedom.
Sebastian Lai, thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me.